You think you know yourself pretty well. That's not a guess. That's exactly why you clicked on this video. People who care about self-growth, people like you, are the ones most likely to feel that way. And here's the problem. That feeling is the trap. Research shows that 95% of people believe they're self-aware, but only about 10% actually are, based on how they really act. That gap? It's not about being dumb or broken. It's about how the brain works against you. In this video, I'll show you why the more you study yourself, the bigger your blind spots can grow. And the one shift that actually changes that. Stay with me. What you find out about yourself in the next few minutes might surprise you. A researcher named Tasha Eurich spent years studying self-awareness, and she found something that stopped her team cold. When she asked thousands of people, "Do you consider yourself self-aware?" 95% said yes, but when she looked at how those same people actually behaved, how they handled conflict, how they responded to feedback, how they treated people close to them, only about 10 to 15% showed real self-awareness in practice. That means roughly 8 out of every 10 people walking around right now believe they know themselves well. And most of them are wrong, not a little wrong, significantly wrong. And here's the part that matters most. The people who score highest on believing they're self-aware are often the furthest from actually being it. Think about the last time someone gave you feedback you didn't like. Maybe a friend said you come across as cold sometimes. Maybe your partner told you that you shut down during hard conversations. Maybe a colleague mentioned you can be hard to work with under pressure. What was your first reaction? If you're like most people, it was some version of "that's not really me. They just don't understand the full picture." That reaction, that quick pushback, is not proof that they were wrong. It's actually one of the clearest signs of the gap, because truly self-aware people don't push back first. They get curious first. They ask, is there something true in that? Even if it's uncomfortable, that small difference. Defense versus curiosity is the difference between someone in the 10% and someone in the 95%. This gap isn't a character flaw. It's a design feature of the human brain. Your brain is built to protect your self-image. It filters out information that threatens who you think you are. So the problem isn't that you're lying to yourself on purpose. The problem is that you don't even know it's happening. And that's what makes this so hard to fix with willpower alone. Now here's something that took scientists a long time to understand. When you think about why you did something, why you reacted that way, why you felt hurt in that moment, why you made that choice, you are probably not remembering what actually happened. You are listening to a story. Your brain made up after the fact. A scientist named Michael Gazzaniga studied patients whose left and right brain hemispheres had been separated. What he found was remarkable. When the right side of the brain made a decision, the left side, which controls speech and storytelling, would immediately invent a reason for it. A confident, believable reason, even though it had nothing to do with the real cause. He called the left hemisphere the interpreter. Its whole job is to take what just happened and build a story around it that makes sense, that feels true, that you can repeat to others and to yourself. Here's a simple example. Say you get into an argument with a friend and you raise your voice. Afterward, you tell yourself, "I only got loud because they weren't listening to me." That explanation feels real. It feels like a memory. But the actual cause might have been much simpler. Maybe you were tired. Maybe you were already stressed about something else entirely. Maybe that person's tone reminded you, without your knowing it, of someone who hurt you years ago. But your brain doesn't give you that. It gives you a story that protects your self-image and puts you in the right, and you believe it, because it came from inside your own head. This is why sitting alone and asking yourself why you did something can sometimes make the problem worse, not better. You're not always uncovering truth. You're often just getting better at writing convincing fiction about yourself. If what you've heard so far has made you think about a specific moment in your life, a time when your story about yourself didn't match the reality, drop a comment that says, "I see it now." Let's see who's truly paying attention, because the people who feel that recognition are already closer to the 10% than they were 5 minutes ago. Now this next part is going to sting a little, and I say that with care, because it stung me too when I first understood it. The more psychological language you learn, attachment styles, Enneagram types, shadow work, inner child, nervous system regulation. The better your brain gets at using that language to protect itself. Not to change. To protect, you start saying things like, I pull away in relationships because of my avoidant attachment style, and that explanation feels like insight. It sounds like growth. But if that understanding never leads to different behavior, if you're still pulling away just as much as before, then the framework didn't help you see yourself more clearly. It just gave your avoidance a more sophisticated name. Think about someone who has done years of self-work. They've read the books, followed the channels, maybe even been to therapy. And when someone in their life pushes back on their behavior, they respond with, I've done a lot of work on myself. I know why I'm like this. That sentence, I know why I'm like this, can be one of the most dangerous sentences a person says, because it uses self-knowledge as a full stop, as a reason to stop looking, as armor. Real growth doesn't end with knowing why. It asks, and what am I doing about it? If you can explain your patterns beautifully, but they haven't changed, you've built a more elegant cage, not an open door. The test of real self-awareness is not how well you can describe yourself. It's how often your behavior surprises you with how much it's changed. This is the reason so many deeply thoughtful people still keep repeating the same patterns. They filled their minds with maps. But a map is not the territory. At some point, you have to put the map down and walk differently. Now, Tasha Eurich's research also uncovered something else. Self-awareness isn't one thing. It's two very different things that don't automatically come together. The first is internal self-awareness. This is knowing your own values, your feelings, your patterns, what you want, what drains you. Most personal growth content focuses entirely on this. The second is external self-awareness. This is knowing how other people actually experience you, how you come across, what your presence feels like to someone sitting across from you. And here's what the research found. These two types are almost completely unconnected. Being high in one does not make you high in the other. Think about someone you know who is deeply self-reflective. They know their triggers. They can talk about their emotional patterns. But somehow, they still frustrate the people around them. Their friends feel unheard. Their partners feel managed. That's a person with high internal and low external self-awareness. They know themselves in the mirror. They don't know themselves in the room. And if you're honest, if you've done a lot of inner work, it's worth asking yourself, when was the last time I seriously asked someone I trust, how do I come across to you? Not to defend yourself, just to listen if you're still watching right now, and I mean really watching, not just having this play in the background. Hit the like button, because the most important part is still ahead. So here's where we land. If journaling can mislead you, if reflection can protect your ego instead of challenge it, if consuming more content can make your blind spots more sophisticated, what actually works? The answer is simple, but it goes against almost everything the self-help world tells you to do. Stop asking why questions about yourself and start asking what questions instead. Eurich's research found that people who constantly ask why did I feel that way? Why do I keep doing this? Actually become less accurate about themselves over time. The why question invites the storytelling brain to take over. But what questions are different? They're grounded. They point to evidence. Here's the difference in practice. Instead of asking, why do I always shut down in arguments? Ask what is happening specifically. Right before I shut down? What does the other person usually say? What am I feeling in my body in that moment? Do you feel the difference? Why takes you inside a story? What takes you inside a pattern? And patterns can be changed. Stories can just be rewritten. The second shift is to start treating your self-concept as a working theory, not a settled fact. A scientist doesn't fall in love with a hypothesis. They test it. They look for evidence that it's wrong. That's the posture to take with yourself. I believe I'm a patient person, so let me look for the times that wasn't true. What did those moments have in common? And the third shift, this one takes real courage, is to actively seek honest external feedback, not vague feedback. Not what do you think of me, but specific questions. When I'm under stress, How do I come across to you? Is there something I do in hard conversations that makes them harder? Ask people who are safe enough to be honest. Then listen without explaining yourself. Just take the information in, these 3 things. What questions? A hypothesis mindset and real external feedback are not glamorous, but they are the actual mechanics of closing the gap that almost everyone is living inside. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are just working with a brain that was built to protect your story, not expose it. The fact that you watched this far already tells me something about you. It tells me you'd rather know the truth than be comfortable. And that quality, that willingness to sit with discomfort for the sake of something real, that is the actual beginning of self-awareness, not the finish line. The first honest step. The people who stay blind are the ones who decided a long time ago that they already know enough about themselves. You just decided something different. Hold on to that. 3 things to carry with you. Your brain is not your enemy, but it is a storyteller, and you have to stop taking every story it tells as the truth. Knowing why you do something is not the same as changing it. And the version of you other people experience is just as real as the one you see inside your head. If this video made you look at yourself a little differently, drop a comment that says, "I see the gap now." I read every single one. There's another video on this channel about why emotionally intelligent people still struggle in relationships. And if this one spoke to you, that one will too. The link is right there. And if this kind of honest, grounded conversation about the mind is what you've been looking for, subscribe. We go deeper every week.